Well, this is Dave with NEO Music Scene, Cleveland, Ohio. Tonight we have with us in the studio, yeah, the studio, right? We have the meat-eating marauders, Mr. Carnivore. Gentlemen.
How's it going?
So just so everybody knows what voice goes with what name, real quickly here, let's go around and everybody just introduce yourself so they know who it is when they hear your voice.
Oh, I'm Mike.
That's Mike.
Hello. Hello.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And I'm Pat.
And there's Pat. There he is, bringing up the rear. Gentlemen, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time and sitting down and talking with us tonight. I just want to let you know before we start this, I did check out your new video and your new song, and I don't know that it can be any more fucking awesome.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
I've got to ask, and again, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I apologize, but whose concept was it for the video?
That was mine. The one who actually cut his hair off, Pat. So, yeah, that was my idea. There's kind of something that I had in the back of my mind actually before Mr. Carnivore even kind of got together. I've worked with these guys on a bunch of different levels. As far as music goes, Mike was already, being my producer for all my solo stuff. And then, the more he worked on stuff, Joe and Kev got involved on some of my songs. And then, I got a lot of listens on Mike's songs and things like that. And eventually we were like, hey, I guess let's try to do a band thing here. So that was like a video that I kind of had in the works before Mr. Carnivore even came together. So that was kind of nice having that in the back pocket before we even decided to try to give this a go.
Well, it was certainly, I mean, you first off, you see the name of the band, Mr. Carnivore, and you're like, okay. And then you hear the music start and you're like, oh, okay. And then the video and you're just like, what the hell am I watching exactly?
Yeah.
You can't take your eyes off of it. You really can't. Where was that video shot? Was it shot like here in the Ohio area? Yeah,
it was shot in Medina, actually, at a barbershop called Hershey's. It's right there on Medina Square, a little south of Cleveland. So, really nice people up there. They just helped us out, let us use the space for free. I had my cousin Jake did all the film work on it. He's grinding and busting ass out in LA right now, trying to do video stuff. So whenever he's in town, I try to grab him and, use it to my advantage, as bad as that sounds. So, yeah, that was a concept. It's cool to hear you say that you were kind of, every step of the way through that process of watching the video and seeing the name, you're kind of caught off guard, because I think that's something that we do really well, and it's kept me interested in the project. We don't necessarily, like you said, it's each step of that way. You heard Mr. Carnivore, the name, and you're like, okay, strange. Like, is this a cooking show or what is this? And then,
well, to me, it screams metal band. I was like,
right,
wow,
Carnivore.
These guys are going to be funny as shit. And then it's like, okay, so that's not what they are. Okay.
Right. And then it kind of flows right on through the music video, concept. That whole thing is supposed to kind of be uncomfortable. You can see it in my face that I'm like extremely uncomfortable throughout that whole video. And it's supposed to just kind of be like a perspective on honesty, really. It put me in an uncomfortable position that not everybody's really trying to, share, and share it.
I mean, the song title is Hot Air Balloon. Explain.
Mm-hmm. That basically, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you got an edit button on that thing? So it's basically a song about a relationship, breaking up, of a relationship. And the specific thing that Hot Air Balloon came from was watching, my ex, taking off in a hot air balloon with, the new date. So it actually happened. It's a big metaphor, but it actually happened.
Well, that's just goddamn depressing is what that is.
It was, yeah, it was pretty shitty. Felt pretty bad. But, made something out of it.
You had mentioned briefly about the origins of the band, and I think that's an important part of your guys' story, actually. So I'm not sure. Let's go to somebody. Let's see, Joey.
Yo.
Tell us about Mr. Carnivore. How did it come to be?
It's actually a really, really long backstory that I won't go all the way back, but more or less, Pat's my brother. So me and him have been playing music together ever since we were very young. My mom started us on piano super young, and then Pat picked up a guitar, and then so did I. And basically in high school, Pat was playing some music with my cousin, and I was playing some music with another friend, and more or less kind of figured that, like, oh, well, he's playing guitar and drums, and I'm playing guitar and bass, and it was like, oh, well, that's a band. Let's put it together. And then as we went through high school, I met Mike Pappas, and he was a better guitar player than I was, and the bass player was going off to college. So I moved to bass, and Mike played the guitar, and so that was kind of the first inception of the three of us at least playing. So that's kind of where at least I got the bug, and I played in bands for years following up after that. Now, fast forward to about 3 years ago, I was on the market. I had been in a band for about 5 years that kind of split apart, and was looking for a new band, and I got hit up on one of those band dating websites, and joined a band called the Shadow Division. That's where I met Kevin Hanna. We played in that band for about 2.5, 3 years, and Kev playing drums and me playing bass, us being the rhythm section. We got very close, and our working relationship was right on par. We had same thoughts about music and all that, how things should happen and all that kind of stuff. So it seemed natural that when Mike had moved home, Mike lived in Los Angeles for about 5 years and had moved home and was doing some recording for the Shadow Division. And at that point, we had started an open mic, and we were all hanging out once a week on Thursdays. People were getting up playing songs together, and it kind of just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, man, we've got the band together once a week at this open mic. Like, we should just do this thing. And so yeah, I proposed the idea, and it took about 2 months to kind of convince everybody and get everybody on board. But finally, when we did, it happened, and we got a bunch of songs together, and we're like, all right, this is looking good. So more or less, that's kind of brought us up to speed. We've only been doing this for probably about 4 months now.
Have you played out live as Mr. Carnivore?
The extent of our public appearances, we kind of have gone through setting up. One of my big things, I've joined bands, and we've gone out and we've really played shows fast, and we've kind of put ourselves out there very fast. And one of my big things with this whole process was I wanted to make sure that we got all of our ducks in a row and did all the quote unquote right things before we just started jumping out there and playing shows. So we haven't played any like venue shows yet. We played one house party. We threw a holiday party. We had just gotten some of our t-shirts in, and we invited some of our closest friends and family out to my brother's house and played a little house gig. So that's kind of the extent of our live stuff at this point. We've really been recording more than anything in the 4 months that we've been together.
We've also
that's exciting, though.
we've also done acoustic set for a radio interview.
No, I guess we did do that.
As far as live is concerned, I guess, kind of.
So moving forward, what do we got coming up? We have a single coming out. We have an album coming out. What are we looking at here?
So at this point, we just submitted the paperwork, and the ball is rolling. We have a release date on February 12th for our first official single. It's called Knees. And that's really what we've been focusing the most on at this point. It is going to be a single off of what will be a more a full release. Hopefully that will be coming out in the next.
Get into all the classic rock stuff. You're trying to get good. So it was like Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton, all that kind of stuff. But then I think as we got older, Joe and I have been friends for a long time, and we lived together, and we got into like Radiohead and Smashing Pumpkins and all U2 and all kinds of cool stuff like later on. That was kind of when we were, I think, started to take music seriously. So I feel like those bands had a pretty lasting impact on us, as well as when we were first kind of figuring out what we were doing. And now it's all over the place. And I think that's probably where we started.
Well, I've noticed, that I think you're definitely trying to create your own sound. I'm noticing, and again, I've only heard 2 of your tracks, but what I've noticed in those 2 tracks is a desire to want to not be pigeonholed into a certain style of music, which I just freaking love. I think that is absolutely fantastic. What do you see yourselves doing in the future as you're working on this new album? Are we going to be getting a variety of stylings, or I mean, what are you thinking? What's the creative process that's going on right now in your mind?
I think maybe the other guy said better too, but I think it is a little scattered, but I think we found like an emotional center to it all. With production and kind of producing our own thing, we can kind of go all over the place. But I feel like the collection of songs we have, we found something. It'll be diverse for sure, but I don't, nothing is going to be so crazy out there. And we're kind of sticking to our guns, Pat mostly plays acoustic, I play electric, drums and bass, and try to create within those parameters before we pull out, the crazy keyboards or anything like that. But it'll be diverse for sure, especially with Kevin and his chops and Joe's influences. So it should hopefully keep you guessing a little bit.
When it comes to the Northeast Ohio music scene, you guys are really kind of carrying the torch for what has been a decades-long, way of Northeast Ohio having its own sound. Kind of goes back all the way back to Michael Stanley Band and through all that type of stuff. Do you guys feel any sense of responsibility or pressure to to follow up like on a Black Keys or something like that? These bands of Red Sun Rising. That this area just spawn bands like that, and I sense that in you. Do you find that as a big burden or exciting?
I know Mike can answer this question. We've kind of had this conversation a couple of times where I don't know that, and I don't want to speak for Mike for this answer, but for me particularly, I wouldn't say that I feel a responsibility to a specific band that came from Cleveland or anything like that. But I do think that I feel a responsibility towards musicians in general and, putting stuff out into the world. I think it's really easy for people to call themselves musicians right now. As far as, everybody's got GarageBand on their laptop and everybody's trying to make anybody's a musician, right? Anybody who's got a laptop, that's what they say, or they're an artist or whatever. But I think we do take a huge, amount of responsibility in carrying the torch of good musicians as far as history of, music goes. And we're not going to just, we're not going to fill anything. We're not going to fill time or space with anything that we don't really believe in or truly stand behind, or at least that's, genuinely how I feel. Mike could add his 2 cents or Joe.
Second that. Yeah. I feel that, as a group collectively, we've made an effort to show our different sensibilities as musicians and then our sensibilities as a group. And I feel that we have a very unique, culmination of minds, not only musically, but just socially and the things that we're into. And it kind of all shows in our music how, we can be in one space doing one general thing, but yet something from a different light is coming in, whether it's like more of a hip hop groove coming through and something that's super melodic and very, very, very sincere, open, like emotional, but yet have like a different type of groove or different things that may seem like they would be off-putting if you separate it and say, hey, these are two separate things, I'm going to put them together, but they just seem to work in the music that we're creating.
Yeah.
Very good. Joey, Mike, you have anything to add to those?
I think what Pat said was true, and see, it is weird with the Cleveland or Northeast Ohio. I like the Black Keys, but it's real tricky too. I think because with Cleveland and Akron, it's a pretty select group that kind of gets out, and it's easy to go, oh, that's working. Let's do what they're doing, and I think we all like Black Keys and stuff like that, but definitely want to stay original. And like I said, I think on a broader picture, what Pat said about Kevin as well. I feel responsibility in that as well, more trying to care more about music in general than necessarily specifically Northeast Ohio. Because it's always changing. I feel like when we first started playing 15 in Cleveland, it was a totally different scene now, and it moves a lot. So we want to hopefully be something that's not too slow, be out of fashion year.
Yes, that would be bad. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you before I forget the name, Mr. Carnivore. What is the catalyst for this name?
Well,
Joe, you wrote this one?
Yeah. I had aforementioned that we've been hosting or have been part of hosting an open mic here. It's over in Ohio City, and we were all kind of standing around and just BSing, and somebody had ordered a veggie burger. And Kev is, as he mentioned earlier, he is the guy that is constantly eating. He's a foodie, I guess, if you will. We've all talked about
Absolutely.
okay, why do we want to do music? Yeah,
Absolutely.
And Kev has always said that he wants to do music, at least in part because he wants to have things catered. So that being said, So that being said, we were all standing around, and a veggie burger got delivered to the table where we were all hanging out, and Kev just started scoffing. You can't call it a burger if it doesn't have meat on it. Blah blah blah. And he looked at all of us and he goes, you might as well just call me Mr. Carnivore. And we all kind of laughed and chuckled and looked at each other and said, hey, that'd be a great band name, as bands do. It's always looking for funny band names. And, the funny thing about this one, though, is that, a couple hours later, we kind of were like, okay, that still kind of sounds like a cool band name. And then a couple weeks later, when we decided that we were actually going to be in a band, we were like, well, we have this band name. And, it just kind of made sense. So we kind of went with it from there.
Mr. Carnivore, the proper dates on releases and what we do, in fact, have upcoming. I know you mentioned the Knees release date. So if someone could just run through all those dates again on when things are going to be available and where we're going to be able to find them.
Absolutely. So we're really excited that Cleveland.com decided they were willing to do a premiere or an exclusive with us. And that's going to be running the week before the song releases. It's going to be running February 4th through the 10th. And then there on February 12th is when the track will be fully available on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere that you can search. Google search will get you there. So right now those are the two main things that we've got coming up here. And then hopefully, if all goes well, by the time that summer is rolling around, late spring, early summer, we should be releasing a collection of songs that are going to be that Knees is the single from. So at that point, you will have a plethora of Mr. Carnivore tracks that you can listen to.
The promised plethora has arrived.
Yes.
Now, I want to make sure I'm not lying about this, so please correct me. But Hot Air Balloon is available now, though, right? If you do a YouTube search for Hot Air Balloon, Mr. Carnivore, that is a track that is listenable as we speak.
Yep. You'll find it on YouTube and YouTube only. It's the video exclusive, so don't search Spotify for it. The funny thing about the Hot Air Balloon track is that, like Pet had mentioned, this was kind of something that he had bounced around before the band decided to get together, and so he recorded the song. With in part, I think maybe Kev's on some drums, and I know Mike, I think mixed it at least. But the song was recorded and the video was shot before Mr. Carnivore was together. So we love the song, and we obviously incorporated it into Mr. Carnivore. But at this point, we have started to kind of retrack it and try to get it to fit a little bit more with the other songs that we're all recording at the same time. Hopefully, if everything goes well, there might be a new version of that will be available upon the full release.
Nice. That would be good.
Yeah.
You put it on this first album, perhaps, huh?
Yeah, that would be the idea at this point.
And it's actually pretty far along. I feel like it's one that has shaped up pretty quickly. So it'll be a totally different version. And cool in its own way.
Beautiful. As far as playing out live, is that anywhere in the future, you think? Are we looking at fall, maybe? I mean, obviously, right now, the album is of the utmost importance. But you're going to have to get out and get into clubs eventually. And I want to make sure I'm standing out in the crowd when it happens. So
definitely.
I'm assuming your Facebook page and your webpage would likely be the best source if somebody wants to go ahead and let loose with those again to the fans. And I will have all this information in the article that accompanies this interview. But somebody go ahead and lay that out there so they know where to find you on social media.
Yeah, www.mrcarnivoreeats.com is going to be the home base for all the information. All of our social media is going to be funneling to there. That website's going to be fully active as soon as the single drops as well. There is a landing page there now that you can see the video and sign up for our mailing list and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the greatest thing, and honestly one of the biggest benefits to having the name Mr. Carnivore, is that there was a vacuum in the internet space for Mr. Carnivore. So if you Google Mr. Carnivore, almost every single one of our social platforms comes up first thing. You're not going to miss it.
Yeah.
Talk about stumbling onto a gold mine. Holy crap.
You're telling me.
Yeah. That was actually, Joe was
part of the decision-making process.
We talked about how wide open that internet space was, and it was kind of a sealed deal, because that's hard to do in 2018, to try to find your own real estate on the internet. And
it's pretty much impossible. So kudos for that, if nothing else. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's what's keeping us together.
Yeah.
I always end these interviews with one last question, and we're going to go kind of round table here. We'll start with Kevin, and then we'll go around. Upcoming concert. What's the one you're looking for most favorite to?
Upcoming, like our music or other musician?
Just in general. Upcoming concerts, one that you would, if you haven't bought a ticket, you would buy a ticket if you could.
Oh man, I would have to say they do this thing called Rock on the Range here in Columbus. It's like a festival almost, and they have like all these. I'm like pretty big into like hard rock and stuff of that nature. So they have like all kinds of hard rock bands, from everything from like generally like Breaking Benjamin to 3 Days Grace, like all like a lot of like the alternative 90s hard rock, and just a lot of the newer acts as well, like Adelita's Way, which is another huge band. I would definitely say something like that, like a bigger ticket that has a lot of influential acts overall.
Doing the festival scene, huh?
Yeah.
Joey, how about you?
The Foo Fighters are coming.
Buying.
Yeah, the Foo Fighters are coming. That's the one I'm most looking forward to. The most recent album that they released, I thought was fantastic. I think I can't find a Foo Fighters album that I don't love. Dave Grohl is immensely influential on just me wanting to play music. Not only do I love his music, but I just love The way that he puts himself out there and the way that he works, he has fun and he works extremely hard. And so I just have a huge appreciation and admiration for the work that Dave Grohl does. So Foo Fighters coming to town this summer, and that's the one I'm going to.
That's a damn fine choice.
Yes.
How about you, Mike? You can buy one ticket. Who are you going to see?
You know, this just was announced, but David Byrne is coming out with a new album, playing kind of a middle of nowhere show in Ohio. I'd never have heard of the city he's playing in. It's kind of between Cincinnati and Columbus, but which I find pretty strange that he's playing there. But I love David Byrne.
I think that's the same city last year that oh Christ, I can't remember the name of the band now. What's that band that Johnny Depp and
oh right,
Hollywood band, they played there. It's like, what? Why would you play there?
So bizarre. Yeah, I never heard of it.
I'm
with a band right now, and one of the guys showed me, said, "Oh, they're playing here in Ohio," and I was like, "Dude, I've never heard of that city." So I think that would be cool. I think David Byrne's awesome, and his new album is with Brian Eno, and I feel like those two have an amazing history together. And it'd just be great to see David Byrne live. I've seen the Talking Heads videos and the live concert stuff. And he seems like he's such a unique kind of American artist, and I think it would be great to see him. So I kind of have my eyes on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely iconic, that's for sure. Boy, you guys, those are some good ass answers. Let's see how Patrick does. Oh, Patrick, one ticket. Which one you buying?
So, in all honesty, I've been so nose to the grindstone. I don't even know what is actually coming. I can tell you the last. I could tell you a concert that just passed recently that I would have loved to go to.
That'll do. We'll let you off the hook.
Okay. Yeah. So the Milk Carton Kids, they perform around this area, like northeast of the States, a lot. I think they were in Cincinnati a couple months ago, and they're on my bucket list essentially. There's just two of them, but it's just so wildly entertaining to watch how starkly different those two people are standing on stage and playing off of each other. Huge influence on me. So,
well, gentlemen, that is some of the most diverse answers I've ever received from Damon. And I love it. That's great. Hey, I can't thank you guys enough for stopping in and talking about this. We'll have a hot air balloon up on the site for everyone to check out. And again, when these comes out there, early part of February, strongly urge everyone to check it out, download it. Any closing things, you guys? Any points you want to make before we wrap this up?
Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it. I think it's crucial that there are publications out there talking about the music that is going on in the city. Any music scene is only as strong as all the implements around the music, and that goes for venues and blogs and radio stations, and having